everyone in the world has access to essentially our checkbook, America's checkbook, all the money we pay into taxes, all the money, the Social Security, the trust fund, all of those baby boomers that have been paying into Social Security for the last few decades. We got that $2.7 trillion trust fund, and he has basically access to all of it. President Trump just came out today and said, yes, he has access. I got full faith of him. He's not going to do anything unless we give him approval. That's the only thing. He's only going to look for bad actors, um, possibly fraud, waste, and abuse. And a lot of talking heads out there are wondering, what can he do? What can he do? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what he can do based on my decades of inside the bureaucratic beast experience at Social Security. So a lot of people out there, the talking heads, news channels, just aren't putting the kind of the dots together and connecting the dots and seeing exactly what can happen. And so, if you're new to my channel, this is also I'll talk about this kind of could be dangerous. Hopefully, it's not. But I'm going to give Elon Musk, if he wants to reach out to me, or DOGE wants to reach out to me, I can give him some pointers on how to make sure they don't mess this up and freak out a lot of people. A lot of people out there are stressing. People on Social Security, retirement, survivor benefits, disability. A lot of people are wondering whether their benefits are safe. So we need to, it's fine to go after fraud, waste, and abuse. If you need help doing that, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help. But we need to do it strategically. We can't go out there and look for 1% or 2% or 10% of the people that we think don't deserve whatever benefits they're receiving, and in the process stress out the other 90% and possibly stop their benefits. And as we saw recently, a memo went out, a directive went out from the White House stopping essentially all payments, and the entire country freaked out. Rightly so. All the states and people on Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and Section 8 housing and Meals on Wheels and all the rest of it. And the White House had to go back in there and rescind it. So let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And this is what this video is going to be about. So hopefully Elon and his very young team of programmers and people that are in the payment system today, that are in our checkbook. Hopefully you're watching this. I guess there's a bunch of 20 or 30 years old that are in charge of this. And yeah, you really need to be very, very careful before you push any buttons. Okay, so let's go down there. So what does he have? President Trump said he just has the names of the bad actors and stuff. No, he's got everybody's name. He's got, and we're going to kind of focus on Social Security here today. He's got the names of who receives retirement benefits, disability benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, survivor benefits, all the rest of it. He knows how much your benefits are because he's got the checkbook. He knows exactly why you're receiving those benefits, whether it's because of survivor benefits or disability benefits or spouse benefits or whatever the case may be. And what's their end game? Well, as he mentioned straight out, that DOGE is there to cut $2 trillion from the budget. Okay. That's going to be a very tough get. And within a few weeks, Elon Musk realized that's going to be very, very tough. So he kind of backed it down to about $1 trillion. Okay. All right. And he wants to cut fraud, waste, and abuse and all that. And everybody is on, I think, across the board. It doesn't matter what political spectrum you're on. We all don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. So 100% go after fraud, waste, and abuse. But you have to go over it. You have to go after it correctly, because if not, then you're going to have a lot of people out there. And a lot of people, 40-50% of people live on Social Security benefits alone. So if these 20, 30-year-old kids get in there and start pushing buttons in our checkbook and those benefits stop, there's going to be a lot of people hurting. So these people have to make sure they're doing the right thing. I don't think they should be politically given that type of power, but it is what it is. And we just need to make sure. So to get to $1 trillion, where do you have to go? The Department of Defense is number one. Department of Defense, but nobody's going to touch the Department of Defense. And if you want my 2 cents, being an old Marine Corps sergeant, That's where there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse. But unfortunately, politically, you just can't do it because a lot of these weapon systems are built in congressional districts and they support those Congress people. So they're not going to cut off their own hand there. So defense is pretty much out. And so the next big budget item is obviously Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So, if they're going to look for $1 trillion, to cut off, I guess, US aid or something like that, that's what the budget for US aid is, about $20 billion a year. That's nothing as compared to Social Security and Medicare. So if they're looking for $1 trillion of you know, budget cuts, then that's where they have to go is Social Security and Medicare. But fortunately, President Trump said no cuts to Social Security, to retirement benefits, and not going to raise the retirement age by 1 day. Okay. So those particular programs are theoretically, possibly not on the table unless we're talking about fraud, waste, and abuse for retirement benefits. And so for retirement benefits per year, the Social Security sends out about $1 trillion. We're talking Social Security, we're talking about retirement benefits, we're talking about survivor benefits, spouse benefits, children's benefits for those people on retirement and disability. And I'm also going to, once I talk about this, I'm going to open it up to a live Q&A. We've already got tons of questions about all things, and I'll make sure I help you all through the navigate the bureaucracy to make sure you get all the benefits you're eligible for. And then if you need help with Medicare Part C and Medicare supplements, you can call my partners at Chapter. Anyway, so so those are, according to President Trump, off the table. So Elon Musk can't mess with that. What else is out there? Disability. There's about 7.6 million people receiving disability benefits, and we're talking about adults, disabled adult children who are receiving benefits as disabled children under their parents' record. So we've got about close to 8 million people receiving disability benefits. And that is where a lot of people think, yes, there is fraud, waste, and abuse in the disability program. So that just might be the end game of what Elon Musk. Obviously, he wants to possibly, you know, um, attack the big one, which is, Social Security benefits itself. And he has allies. There's a senator out of Oklahoma who I just did a video on a little while ago that proposes essentially ending spouse and child benefits. Not all spouse benefits, but basically people that didn't. He says people that didn't pay into Social Security, and those are spouses that didn't work or children. So he wants to end those benefits. So I just did a video on that. But I think that hopefully that's off the table. Hopefully he's a loner in that respect, and hopefully nobody will listen to him, and hopefully whatever bill he tries to pass isn't made into law. But disability itself, okay, so we're talking about 8 million people receiving disability benefits. This is about $200 billion a year. So obviously not 100% of those people on disability you know, is fraud, waste, and abuse. There are people that are receiving disability. I've taken hundreds of thousands of disability claims, and I know there are some people that are just can't work. That's how Social Security defines disability, as the inability to work, a disability that prevents you from working, and that disability has to last 12 months or longer. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of people out there that deserve those disability checks. They paid into FICA all of those years through their payroll, and they became disabled, unable to work, and they're receiving those benefits. But yes, are there people receiving disability benefits that shouldn't be receiving disability benefits? Absolutely, 100%. So if the people in charge that seem to be camping out in our checkbook office back in Washington, they look at all those people, those 7-8 million people receiving disability. Those are the people possibly they might want to go after. They might they might currently be thinking about going after to stop those disability benefits. And how do they weed out the people that they think shouldn't get disability? I'm sure they all have medical degrees and they've reviewed all the medical records, which sarcasm. Um, well, they kind of do what he did with Twitter and what he did with the federal government, that whole fork in the road email. They could very well hack the server and send out a mass email to all the people that are receiving disability benefits and say, hey, we don't think you should be disabled. You should be receiving disability benefits. We think you can work. And here's what you have to do. And for disability, this is already being done. It's called a CDR, Continuing Disability Review. When you're approved for Social Security disability, they give you kind of like a diary. It's medical improvement expected. So it depends on what your disability is. They might review your case once a year, or every 3 years, or 5 years, or 7 years, or whatever the case may be, based on your disability. So when your time comes up, they send you a package, a CDR package, continuing disability review. And then you have to fill out all the information. This is why I'm still disabled. This is why I'm still not able to work. Here's my doctors. Here's the prescriptions I take. Here's what, prevents me from working, and all the rest of it. That is a regular cycle that Social Security has been doing, since disability has been around. If they want to target people receiving disability, they could trigger more of those. A lot of those CDRs are, as I've done a series of videos on filing for disability, the appeals process, and continuing disability reviews, and all the rest of it. I've done that several times, but check out those videos if you're looking to file for disability. But the CDR process, which is already a process, let me move this up here, that's in place. They could trigger that, but that's a specific allocation, a funding from Congress. Right now, Social Security is at a 50-year low. And here is the caution for those people out there. If you're going to go after fraud, waste, and abuse in the disability program, perfect. Awesome. I'm 100% there. I'm sure all Americans, know somebody that, possibly, are questionable and retire on in disability. And I'm sure there's people that could actually work, but a lot of people can't, and they're receiving disability. So when you trigger those CDRs, if you say, okay, we're going to evaluate again all 8 million people, and I guess it could be the president's prerogative to send out CDRs, those reviews, to all 8 million people. And hey, we want to make sure you're still disabled. But the problem is that for the past few decades, politicians from all sides have failed at their job. Go figure. The current president has failed. The previous president, Biden, has failed. President Trump, when he was president before, he failed. Obama failed. The Bushes failed. Clinton failed. And all Congress people, senators, House of Representatives have failed for the last few decades. And they have not addressed the issues of Social Security in terms of the future cuts that are going to happen in 2034 or so. They're looking at about 21, 22% cuts. And the fact that the Social Security staffing, those people that their job is to help you get your benefits that you earned, their job is to help you get your benefits. That's their job. But Congress refuses to support them and provide them resources. So you look at this, and staffing at Social Security right now is at a 50-year low. And you can see the graph there that obviously the baby boomers are starting to come up. So, and it makes it even worse now that Congress just passed that Social Security Fairness Act, which in my 2 cents is not fair at all. But I guess I lost that battle. Biden kind of, the 100% political reasons he passed that, he signed it. But anyway, not fair at all to the other 97%. Now, but now Social Security is not only at a 50-year low in terms of staffing, so they don't answer, they can't answer the phone and all the rest of it, and people are blaming telework, which is all BS. I did a video on that, and now they're also having to recalculate over 3 million records based on the Social Security Fairness Act. So their customer services are going to get worse. And then Elon Musk sent that email to everybody, all the federal employees, about there's a fork in the road that you need to bail and get the heck out of here and go find a private job or whatever the case may be. So help from Social Security is going to be very few and far between. And I would argue that's a conscious decision by politicians to keep you from getting your benefits. But if they add upon that 8 million continuing disability reviews that have to be done, then the whole system is just going to completely break down. And that might be the intention. That might be the end game, is to stress the system to such an extent that the entire system just breaks down completely. And then guess who comes to the rescue? Wall Street and the billionaires. They have been chomping at the bit to get that 2.7 trillion trust fund and get all those FICA taxes for decades and decades and decades. If you dispute that, look at my in my YouTube description. I've got the playbook that was written back in the 1980s about exactly to build a crisis like this. And this is the trigger for the crisis: low staffing, the Social Security Fairness Act, trying to get as rid of many federal Social Security employees as possible. And then the last kind of straw is to throw millions of continuing disability reviews at the system. The system 100% will break down. I guarantee you. You think to get Social Security on the phone now takes 3 or 4 hours? Yeah, you haven't seen anything yet if this happens, and this could very well be a conscious decision. So, if that's your decision, if that's your end game, then I am 100% against it, and I think everybody should reach out to their politicians and voice their opinion on that. That's the Capitol switchboard, that's the presidents, and say, "Hey, go after fraud, waste, and abuse. We're all good with that, but yeah, don't do it as a reason just to destroy, the entire system." So definitely reach out. But if you're going to, go after fraud, waste, and abuse, you have to do it selectively. Send out a little bit of CDRs at a time. Reach out to me. Reach out to people that are in the policy. I'm sure people don't want to reach out to people in Social Security because they're beholden. I'm no longer with Social Security. I retired, so I can say whatever the hell I want. And being an old Marine Corps sergeant, I usually do say whatever the hell I want. So I'd be more than happy to take your call, Elon, or even if those 19-year-old people that you have in charge there, I'd be more than happy to, pull out the crayons and walk them through the entire process so it's been done, so it will be done effectively and you don't stress out and freak out a lot of people. Those people on disability who have been hearing this right now, nothing has changed. I'm just kind of hoping that it doesn't, and I'm cautionary tale for a bad experience that just might happen. So I'm reaching out there and letting people know what's going on. But those people on disability, when you receive a CDR, my philosophy, if you're a regular channel, if you're a regular subscriber, please subscribe and like and share and all that kind of stuff for people on disability. My philosophy on CDRs is FCF. Forget about the CDR, because if you don't have it in hand, once you get it, then you complete it. So forget about it until you actually get it. And when you get the CDR in the mail in your mailbox, complete it, make a copy, return it, watch my videos on the filling out the CDR, and then forget about it again, because the CDR, as I mentioned, is a separately funded program that Congress has to allocate funds for CDRs. And I won't go into how the sausage is made, but it's not your issue. You fill out the CDR, you return it, and then you're paranoid if your disability is going to be cut off. Don't be. They might not even look at the CDR. You fill out all that stuff, and they might shred it after a week or so because they've already met their allocation in that particular office because it's separately funded. So, super long story short, forget about the CDR. Don't worry about it. I get people on the live Q&A all the time. I'm up for my CDR in 6 months. What do I do? What do I do? Forget about it until you actually get it. You might not even get it. Your time is next month, but you might not even get it because there's no allocation in that particular office to do a CDR. And then when you get it, you complete it and you send it in, and you forget about it again, because even if they send it to you, they might not have an allocation to complete it. So please don't freak out on CDRs. Social Security, that's one thing they do is they do a phenomenal job stressing people out about CDRs. Okay. All right. So that is, if you got any other questions, you got anything addition you want me to add there, please, let's move into the live Q&A brought to our friends that chapter. They help you with all things Medicare. This is also the open enrollment period. So if you need help, if you pick the wrong Medicare Advantage plan, reach out to them. If you want to switch to a Medicare supplement, which is 100% the way prefer Medicare supplements, but it's a budgetary issue. They come with a cost. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump in there. Unfortunately, we've got tons of questions. Um, let's see, Susan, is there a link to all your claims that is happening or will be happening? I appreciate your channel, but would like to research on what you were saying. Absolutely, Susan. I like it. You're the type of people we like here. Absolutely. The description in YouTube, it's getting longer and longer and longer. Every time I talk about something, ask I put another reference in there. But yes, the Social Security Trustees report is in there. The plan to essentially dismantle and give over to Wall Street, that plan is in there that was written in the 1980s. The Congressional Budget Office is in there. OIG for fraud, waste, and abuse. That information is in there. Yes, I've got a whole bunch of links, and the links in the description are getting longer and longer and longer. Good, excellent question. Yes, perfect question. I like it. I request my spouse Social Security in October 2024. I was 65 years old. Now I got an answer. I cannot get it until I'm 66 and a half. Sounds like you can get it. It sounds as though it's an issue of the annual earnings limit. So sounds like you're currently working and you intend on continuing to work and you're going to make over the $23,400. And because of that, then yeah, so that's probably why they're saying, yeah, we can give you to you. You can get it, but we're going to withhold $1 for every $2 you go over, and therefore you're not going to get anything. So that's probably why they're saying 66 and a half is when you reach your full retirement age. But here's one thing a lot of people miss. There's a difference between the annual earnings limit and the monthly. Okay. So if you want to go ahead and file for Social Security benefits, let's say you're 64 years old and you want to file this year in July, and you are making $1 million a month. I always exaggerate for effect. So you're making $1 million a month. So that's way over the $23,400. So $1 for every $2, you're not going to get any benefits this year. However, the first year you file for Social Security benefits, you can switch to the monthly. So let's say in July, you're going to stop working and you're going to not make $1 million a month anymore. So starting July, you're going to stop working, or you're going to earn under $1,950. So this year, 2025, the monthly limit is $1,950. How'd they come up with that? $23,400 divided by 12. So starting July, you're going to be under that amount. So you can actually start your benefits in July, as long as you stay under that monthly amount for the rest of the year. And then next year, then you have to stay under the annual earnings limit. So even if you made $1 billion January to June, doesn't matter. It only matters the month you start receiving your Social Security benefits. So, but if Andrea, if you're going to continue to work, then then they're going to hold back anything. It's not as though you're not entitled. It's just the person probably just said, hey, you know, we're going to withhold back all the money. So why? Glenn, can I collect my and my deceased spouse benefits at full retirement age? How does that work? Okay. You can, but you don't collect both checks separately. One offsets the other. And here's a trick a strategy that a lot of people miss. So if you're entitled to surviving spouse benefits, widower benefits, same thing. If you're entitled to surviving spouse benefits, you can start those at 60 years old. Regular retirement spouse benefits, living spouse benefits, um, uh, divorce spouse benefits, you start those at 62. But divorced surviving spouse benefits, you can start at 60. Okay, let's say you're 62 years old and you want to start, you're no longer you're earning, over the annual earnings limit and everything, and you want to start your benefits. Here's what a lot of people miss is they file for the wrong one. So you have to look at the numbers, but let's say you're going to file for surviving spouse benefits at 62, you start those benefits, but you say, well, should I get retirement too? Well, if you're going to receive, let's say, $1,000 from surviving spouse benefits, and you get $500 from your own, you'll get your $500 plus an extra $500. So one offsets the other. But surviving spouse benefits is the only one you can start those without touching your own benefits. So you start collecting your surviving spouse benefits at 62. Don't touch your own. Continue to collect your surviving spouse benefits, and then once your benefits increases, because every month you wait to collect social security benefits, it increases all the way to 70 years old. So maybe at 70 years old, then you switch back over onto your own record. Or sometimes it's better to collect retirement benefits first and then wait for your survivor benefits to increase to your full retirement age, so there's no reduction. So it really depends on how much those benefits are. But yeah, so I've done a few videos on surviving spouse benefits. All right, let's see here. Jumping around here. Elon belongs to get. Okay. All right. Um, People, we need to fight this awful tyranny. Yes, reach out to your politicians before it's too late. Yeah, that's I always recommend that anyway. I believe this is a participatory democracy, and but if it's not, if we sit our hands, so there's things that have to happen. As I mentioned, we're looking at cuts here in the future, and Susan was the name. Yeah, all of those references are in the description about the cuts. The Social Security Trustees Report, the Congressional Budget Office, they've been talking about the cuts for decades. And people say, well, they've been talking about decades, they don't happen. No, they've been talking about it decades that it is going to happen. And these are the years it's going to happen. And unfortunately, we've been kicking the can down the road for way, way, way too long. And now there is no more road, and the cuts are going to be happening very soon. And when President Trump says he's not going to cut Social Security and he's not going to raise the retirement age, great, perfect, okay, fine. But Social Security has to be touched. It has to be fixed because the Social Security Trust Fund, which is at $2.7 trillion, that money is running out. In 2023, $70 billion from the trust fund, from the savings, was taken out and given to you. If you're receiving Social Security checks, part of your check that you get this month comes from that Social Security Trust Fund. So there's an internet myth out there that the Social Security Trust Fund is all, useless IOUs and monopoly money, and it's all fake and was all stolen and given to this country, that country. That's all BS. That's just politicians, distracting you from the real issues. And they do a really good job at that because a lot of people buy that. Just ask yourself, okay, if this $2.7 trillion is just fake money, IOUs that are worthless, why do the billionaires on Wall Street want it so bad? Are they that dumb? Well, anyway, I won't answer that. That was a rhetorical question. He or the president has the authority to fire or try to give them money to leave. I see a lot of lawsuits from all this chaos. He has 19-year-old hacking the treasury system. Yeah, the executive branch, the Social Security. You can ask people to leave and fire them but they have to be for some type of good cause. They just can't. But there's going to a lot of people at Social Security are kind of freaking out about this and worrying about their jobs in the future. And people that are close to retirement say, okay, I can respond to Elon Musk's fork in the road email and say, I resign, and then I get 6 months without having to do anything. And I was going to, retire later this year anyway, so I'm going to just go ahead and bail now. So there might be a lot of people that just go ahead and decide to move on, and that is going to put a worse stress on the system. And you know, you paid for that help. All the help that Social Security gives you or doesn't give you, you paid for that. When you paid your FICA tax all those decades, part of that money was to go, says, okay, when I reach 62 years old, I want this money. And I want someone to help me make sure I get all the money I earned. And that's what Social Security employee is. It's not my job in my semi-retirement to be doing these YouTube videos. You shouldn't need this, but unfortunately, this is reality. And a lot of people aren't getting the help they need, and they're missing money and they're missing programs. But that money, you already paid for it. But Congress refuses to give the money you told them to give, the resources to give to Social Security so they could help you in the future. Congress refuses to do that, and they're making all kinds of BS, kind of excuses. The excuse of the week is, oh, it's all because of telework. That's why they don't answer the phones. No, that is 100% BS. How do I know? Again, I ran the third business Social Security office in the country. I don't know if you realized phones. They don't need to be connected to anything, right? You can answer the phone in the next cubicle at a Social Security Administration office, or you can answer the phone at your house. It doesn't matter, the same exact thing. And those phones are monitored. How do I know? I used to monitor them on a daily basis, and I would reach out to my supervisors and say, "Hey, how come this person isn't answering phones? Oh, they're on their break. Oh, okay, all right. How come this person is on this particular call for 35 minutes? Oh, it's a very, complicated overpayment thing. Okay, well, make sure they try to get through it as soon as possible because there's other 400 people waiting on the phone." So you can do that regardless of where it is. So this whole thing about, this whole thing about telework, watch in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks when everybody returns back to the office. So is Social Security miraculously going to be perfect overnight? Guess what? It's not. And therefore, those politicians that done a few videos on, yes, they are untruthful, let's say. All right. Let's see. Cindy, are you willing to meet with President Trump in person if he were to ask you? Absolutely. If you so please suggest to your audience that everyone should contact the White House and their congressperson and request, yeah, I'd be more happy. Yeah, absolutely. Semi-retired, living in the Philippines and under Philippines Health, a national health insurance plan. Will I be penalized if I need to go back to the U.S. in the future and sign up for Medicare Plan B? Each particular country really depends on the details of that particular country. I know places like in Japan, that national health insurance is considered credible coverage. But what you need to do is get the details of that particular country's health insurance, and if it's considered credible coverage, then you will have a special enrollment period when you return. But each country is a little bit different depending on that particular system. How do you find out the SSDI amount you could possibly receive? I have worked for the last 33 years. Also, is it taxable? SSDI, you can look on, go into SSA.gov, which is, I always recommend going into SSA.gov, setting up a My Social Security account, even if you don't use it. But I think you should use it because and please impress upon all your young people. Go in there and check your earnings record. And Michelle, as part of that, you can also go in there and see exactly, okay, when I reach 62, how much can I get? When I reach my full retirement age, how much can I get? If I file for disability benefits, how much can I get? It says it right in there. Your SSDI amount is essentially the amount you would receive at your full retirement age. And is it taxable? Most people don't pay taxes on Social Security if that's all they're receiving. But I stay away from taxes. So there's that. Sandy, my husband passed 2022. He was a firefighter, 30 years. I collect his pension. I collect on my ex-Social Security. Will I benefit from the Freedom Act? It's called the Social Security Fairness Act. I'm 79. If he was a firefighter that worked in what's called a non-covered entity, worked, obviously as a firefighter, so he worked for the government. But if he worked in a particular jurisdiction that did not pay into Social Security, then he was part of that windfall elimination provision. And the Social Security Fairness Act got rid of that windfall elimination provision, and it got rid of the government pension offset. So it really depends on whether your late husband worked and paid into Social Security predominantly through his firefighting, or whether he just did someplace else. So I would definitely reach out and check to see. You just call the 800 number, 800-772-1213, and find out if if you're not sure, find out if ask, is my ex-husband's PIA wept? So the primary insurance amount, just ask it just like that. Is my ex-husband's our husband's PIA wept, WEP, and they will tell you if it's he worked in the other 97% of firefighter, fire stations, then he's good. But if he worked in one of those 3%, then you might be eligible for some more money. So let's see. Phoenix, thank you so much for your channel. You're welcome. I'm going to be 65 in November, and I'm currently on SSDI. When I switch to Social Security, am I going to be affected by this SSDI, Trump Musk? Okay, so number one, you won't be switched when you're 65. What happens is when you're on Social Security disability insurance, once you hit your full retirement age, whatever your full retirement age, that's when it'll happen. You will stop receiving disability, and they'll just switch you to regular retirement benefits. There's nobody in the country receiving disability benefits after their full retirement age. It's automatically switched to regular retirement benefits. It's just a bureaucratic accounting thing where they stop taking the money out of the Social Security Disability Trust Fund and they start taking out of the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund. Your benefit amount and everything stays the same and all that, so nothing changes. But will this be affected by this? We certainly hope not, and that's why I'm making this video to hopefully Elon and those people reach out and they say, "Oh, we better listen to Ed here and make sure we don't, send one of these crazy fork in the road or." Arbitrarily stop Social Security disability benefits across the board, or we don't, stress the system so much that it breaks. Unless, I guess, if that's your intention, which then then I have other words for you. But one thing you definitely need to do now that you're turning 65, you probably have once you get Social Security disability insurance, you get Medicare after 2 years. In most states, you can only get a Medicare Advantage when you're under 65 and on Medicare. But now that you're turning 65, you have the ability to switch to anything you want. And I always recommend Medicare supplement plans, Plan N or Plan G, so you don't have to deal with prior authorizations. You don't have to deal with networks. But there is a monthly cost to them. But if you go to the doctor often, the cost might be better if you get a Medicare supplement. So you can reach out to Chapter there. And when you turn 65, you're in a special window that they can't deny you like they possibly did before. So if you've been receiving disability for 10 years and 10 years ago you said, "Oh, I'm going to get one of those Medicare supplements so I don't have to deal with all this nightmare." They said, "Sorry, you can't get it." But now you're 65, they can't deny you because of any health or pre-existing conditions or anything like that. And they can't charge you extra. So definitely check that out. And if it's right for you, then it's right for you. If not, then definitely make sure you're in the right Medicare Advantage plan. They need to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund. They seem to find money for everything else. How about all the money from? Oh, okay. Well, anyway. Um, yeah, that's what they did in the 80s under Reagan and Tip O'Neill, and they had that commission and the Greenspan Commission and everything that rolled up, and that's where we got the weapon, the GPO in the first place, and taxing of Social Security benefits. Which anyway. And all that money, the trust fund was built up specifically for baby boomers. And now baby boomers, that's their savings. They're using it. They're getting that money every single month. But the problem is Social Security can only pay out what they receive in. So if they receive in, 75% of what they need to pay out, then they only pay out 75%. They can't pay out 100%. What right now covers that extra 25% gap is the trust fund. So that's why they take money out of the trust fund to cover the other 25%. But slowly that trust fund is being depleted. And in 2033 or 2034, then Social Security is going to have to cut back across the board to everybody's check. And so we need to reach out to our politicians and, make sure they fix it. We should have been done in that for the last 10 or 20 or 30 years, but politicians refuse to do anything because anyway. So my local office has temporary close sign. How do I submit my marriage license? Mail to the local office. I applied to Social Security online today. So if did they specifically request your marriage license? If it's a current marriage type thing, they can take a kind of an attestation on your current husband, and it's a SSA 3. But anyway, they can, you hand the phone over to him or her or whatever. And the person says, "Yeah, my name is this and my date of birth and ID information," and say, "Yeah, it's still my spouse." And so you might not even need your marriage license. But if they actually requested your marriage license, then yes, you can mail it in, but you have to mail in the original. No notarized copies or anything like that. It has to be the original from the issuing agency, and you mail it in, and they will make a copy of it and then return your original to you. Or if you applied online today, they probably haven't even contacted you yet. So if you need it, they will reach out to you and they'll tell you yeah, on Tuesday we're open, and so you can drop it in the mailbox or drop it in at that time or whatever the case may be. They'll set up an appointment. Each office does it a little bit differently. And this is another reason. This is the first time this has happened since 1935. It has never happened since Social Security has been in existence since 1935. Is that they're closing offices like this, and they're going to an appointment only system, which is a terrible, terrible idea. But they 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 they're they've been painted into the corner by the politicians. The politicians refuse to support the local Social Security offices so they can help you get your benefits. And this is a conscious decision, I would argue, by politicians on both sides. One side, wants to destroy customer service because they want you to hate Social Security so you can, so they can give it over to billionaire buddies. And the other side wants to theoretically support it, but they're too incompetent to do it. I have no idea. But it's whatever the case may be, this shouldn't be like this. You should be able to call up Social Security, get help, find out what strategies you need to do to make sure you get everything you're entitled to, everything you're eligible for, so you don't have to sit there and listen to me drone on for an hour or so. But I will continue to be here. And if Social Security customer service gets to a stellar level, then I will disappear off the face of the earth for all intents and purposes for you. I'll still be out here somewhere causing trouble. But anyway, never mind tariffs, tear off the FICA so the wealthy pay the same as the rest of us. There we go. That is the solution I would recommend. And most of the viewers recommend the same solution. What is that? It's basically, a lot of people don't know this, that most of us if you're watching here, there's probably a 99.9% chance that every dollar you make, you pay FICA Social Security, unless you're one of those people that make over $176,100 a month. If you make over that, you stop paying Social Security FICA taxes. So if any money you make under that, you pay FICA. But if you're making $50,000, you're paying FICA taxes on all of it. If you make $5 million, you're not paying FICA tax on the other, 4 million and whatever. So you're only paying it on the low. And that is the number one issue right now that is causing issues in terms of cuts in the future. If we just raise the cap, smash the cap, so everybody pays, FICA tax on every dollar like the rest of us schmoes, then Social Security will be around here for a long time. And yeah, that's the only thing to happen. But that's essentially going to be raising taxes. That's the way politicians, again, another BS political, yeah. The only way to solve it is to cut benefits or raise taxes. No, that's all BS. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of solutions. I've got it in the description. Check out the description and it gets all of them. And this particular one is in the description. It gives you all the details of this particular solution. It solves right now 73% of the problem. A few years ago, it solved 100% of the problem, but every year we wait, it's going to solve. But anyway, but 73% is pretty awesome. We just need to find a few percent other places. But yes, to raise the FICA cap is going to raise taxes on the rich, not us, not the 97% of people that don't make $400,000 a year, whatever. But yes, and so when politicians say cut benefits, okay, yeah, no, or raise taxes. Well, it's not raising tax on you; it's raising taxes on that politician and his sponsors or her sponsors. And so that's why they characterize it as raising taxes. No, it's not raising taxes. It's just making everybody pay the same percentage like us. Anyway, many first responders also worked in private sector jobs paying into Social Security. Yep. Okay. Yep. I agree. But those 3% are going to be receiving a higher percent than the other 97% of first responders. Yes. So that's why I think that's unfair. But let's see. Note how Democrats tell us about the future. Pull it out of their back area. Now, about 4 years, you damage the country. Okay. Yeah. This has been going on in terms of Social Security for decades. So I'm holding both political parties' feet to the fire. I hit my full retirement age today. I've been on disability benefits for 5 years. Social Security is 60% of my retirement income. I don't trust them not to screw up the system. Yeah, then I would definitely reach out to your politicians and make sure they don't do anything like that. Yes. So yeah, you're remember. So you're no longer on disability benefits. You're on regular full retirement benefits, and because of that, again, it's probably you missed the kind of the 65 window to switch to a Medicare supplement. But remember, because you're on regular Social Security retirement benefits now, you no longer have those continuing disability reviews, the CDRs. You'd never have to worry about those again. And because you're past your full retirement age on regular retirement, you no longer have work limitations. So if you decide to go back to work or try to work or whatever the case may be, you don't even have to notify Social Security. You know, Social Security doesn't care. Just file your taxes, and the IRS cares, but Social Security doesn't care. Elon Musk can't just do anything he wants to. He makes suggestions, and it gas to be cleared by Trump first. Any conflict of interest circumstances, he can't be involved. Don't believe everything. Yep, 100%. Yeah, Social Security is not really a conflict of interest type thing, but what I am doing is kind of bringing to people attention. We've seen the White House letter that stopped all financial benefits for assistance going out there, and that was rescinded the next day because it freaked out a lot of people, and we don't want that happening again. So go after fraud, waste, and abuse. 100% supportive, but don't do it, with a broad stroke. Don't be a bull in a candy in a china shop. SSI is for everyone is too sick, etc. They didn't get enough working credits. SSDI is primarily for those who paid in. Okay, Gary, yes. So that is a common distinction a lot of people miss. So thank you, Gary, for that. Yeah, SSI is the welfare-based benefit that the Social Security administers. It celebrated its 50-year SSI supplemental security income. That is started in 1974. Social Security took it over in 1974. And you get that if you're disabled or aged being 65 and older. So people can receive SSI and SSDI. So let's say your Social Security disability insurance that you paid into, you didn't pay that much, you didn't work that much, whatever the case may be, it's only $500 a month for SSDI. You can, if you're eligible, also get SSI. And because it's a welfare-based program, we're talking about low income, low resources. So if you also get SSI, for SSI, the max you can get is $967 this year. So you get $500 from SSDI, and the difference up to 967. So you get $500 and $467 from SSI. So yes, that is a difference a lot of people miss. And people call, they think SSI means Social Security income or something, but what is the best way I can have you look over my SSI records? So, like SSI records, there's no such thing as SSI records. So you can see what they have done to me. They deny my SSDI, or, yeah, I do very, very limited, kind of private phone call appointments. And you can, in the description, there's a link down there. I'm probably going to stop doing those in the future, but as of right now, I'm doing just a few, just to pay for the phone bill. And praying is for people who can't do anything for themselves, hoping, okay, well, let's see here. Uh, Stop the Social Security IRMA deduction. They're a killer when full allotted Social Security amount counted on. Taking out money counted on is awful. I sold my house and really need my Social Security money. Okay. So what Janiskis is talking about is IRMA, is income related monthly adjustment out. It's a higher premium that people that made for this year over 106,000 if you're single, 212,000 if you're married. Um, it's a higher premium. Everybody pays, if you're getting Medicare Part B, everybody pays the $185. But some people pay more than that, and it's based on your earnings from 2 years prior. And unfortunately, yeah, Congress didn't make an exception for people that sold their house. So after a certain amount of profit, capital gains from selling your house, that's going to count against your IRMA. And yeah, Congress, for whatever reason, they should have made that kind of carve out for capital gains for selling your primary home. But anyway, let's see. Get some disability resolution. Discussion on disabled and Social Security. What to? Okay, all right. Let me jump around. He can decide to implement the chip on your hand or forehead if you want the money. Okay. Yeah. A forced resignation is a constructive termination. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be yeah, very, very difficult to get help from Social Security. They're a 50-year low in terms of staffing. So, when will the windfall begin? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what windfall you're talking about. So, but yeah, the maybe you're talking about the Social Security Fairness Act. When will the windfall recalculations begin? They've already begun. I've already had reports back of people getting their benefits increased because of that deletion of the windfall offset. So, all right. Social Security doesn't need originals. They actually already have that info. That is just paying some loony at Social Security dreamed up to make their system harder to navigate. No, that's incorrect. They don't need originals like a W-2 and stuff like that. But in terms of marriage certificate, divorce decree, death certificate, yeah, they need the originals. Absolutely need the originals. And people always mistake the originals. It's like, okay, if you were born in 1964, we need the original birth certificate for 1964, or if you got married in 1989, we need the original marriage certificate in 1989. No, it has to be the original from the issuing agency. So if you've since lost those two documents, the original, that's fine. You just have to contact the issuing agency and get an original, is what Social Security considers original, from that issuing agency. You can't have the original and then go down to a notary and make a copy that it is a notarized copy of the original. Social Security doesn't accept that. You take the original in, and Social Security employee will copy it, stamp it with a stamp, and certify that it is an original. So, yes, Social Security does need originals in those particular cases. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Dr. Weir, you totally misrepresented the funding freeze that the White House put out, then rescinded. That freeze had zero impact on those benefits you mentioned. Not right to fearmonger your. Yeah, exactly. 100%. It said in the footnote on those 2 pages that it doesn't apply to benefits to direct individuals, which includes Social Security and Medicare. But it didn't say anything about Medicaid. A lot of people are receiving Medicare because they receive Medicaid, and Medicaid is paying the $185 Part B premium. And then it just freaked everybody out across the board. So in terms of Meals on Wheels, the electrical assistance, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I didn't say specifically that, but yes, it did freak a lot of people out. And all you have to do is go back and watch all the videos that happened within that 24 or 48-hour period. Trump has only been in office 2 weeks. DOGE will identify fraud and waste and make recommendations to the White House. Trump been in the office longer than Biden. He was in it for 4 years and 2 weeks. So that's 2 weeks longer than. So come on, you got to be fair. Yeah, fraud, waste, and abuse, absolutely, and make those recommendations. But I'm just saying that those recommendations shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I would love an option to be able to take my lump sum and invest it how I like it, just like my pension plan offers. Yeah, if they privatize Social Security, maybe that might be an option. So, but yeah, pretty much most people on this channel, yeah, don't agree with giving the money over to Wall Street because in my particular office, I had about 100 employees, and several billion dollars came in and out of my office. So I was in control of several billion dollars in my particular office. I'm not going to complain. I was I was I was able to feed my family and shelter over the head and put my son through college and all that stuff. So my salary was fine, no complaints. But if there was a private CEO in control of several billion dollars, I think they would make 10 times what I was receiving. So give that money over to Wall Street and the commissions. Wow. Wow. Yeah, commissions are going to be crazy. Dr. Ed, I think this new Trump executive order today's sovereign wealth fund is what we all fear about them taking the trust fund. Yeah, a lot of countries have the sovereign wealth fund. Trump's, for when he was first president, the last time, the first place he went was the Saudi, the House of Saud, the sovereign wealth fund there. Yeah, and it's just, but who's going to be in control of it? Not us little guys. Social Security makes it harder to get disability and never provides a way to make it easier for those who qualify. Social Security or your politicians? Social Security just administers the programs of that the politicians decide, and they only provide the service that they can provide based on what politicians decide in terms of resources. Yeah, so and again, that's the trick of politicians to make us blame Social Security. And obviously, fraud, waste, and abuse exist, and they could do a better job. Absolutely, but they privatized everything and screwed everyone in Argentina at 52% poverty. Yeah, yeah, a lot of countries, some countries succeeded privatizing Social Security. Some other countries didn't do much. Look at Medicare Advantage. Here's how I compare it: Social Security Advantage. So you've got a Medicare Advantage, which is, um, you know, you're when you sign up for Medicare Advantage, you're essentially giving up original Medicare, and you're deciding to give the responsibility to your healthcare over to a private company. And some people are perfectly happy with that. And it's zero premium per month and all that. And they get the extra, bells and whistles and stuff. And people are like, wow, I get this stuff for free. Well, no, number one, it's not free, because what happens is all that money you paid into FICA all those decades. FICA comes Social Security and Medicare. Medicare is the 1.45%, and then your employer pays the other 1.545% for Medicare. If you make more money, you actually pay a little bit more. But anyway, but once you sign up for XYZ Medicare Advantage company, then that company, goes to Washington with their begging bowl and say, "Hey, we just signed up Christine, and give us Christine's money that she paid into, Medicare all those years." And so they get that money, and that's how they do it. That's how they provide all that help, your gym membership and your dental and all that kind of stuff. It's your money. So because it's your money, your job in retirement, as I always say, is to get back as much money you paid into the system as possible. So, how do you do that? You make sure you're in the best Medicare Advantage plan. If that's your choice to do a Medicare Advantage plan, you just make sure you're in the best Medicare Advantage plan possible. You can reach out to my partners at Chapter, and they can see what's available in your area. And the government, hopefully, this is still on. CMS, the people that are in charge of Medicare, and it looks like maybe Dr. Oz might be the new person, but hopefully he continues this policy this new policy that's going to start in July of this year. In July of this year, Medicare Advantage companies have to send you a mid-year letter that says, "Hey, you're in this Medicare Advantage plan, and you've got $3,000 of dental, or you've got gym membership, or you've got X, Y, and Z, and we notice you haven't used it. Just kind of FYI that you've got it, and maybe you should use it." Because companies were receiving money to provide those services, and people weren't taking advantage of them. So the government came in there and say, "Are people not taking advantage of those extra benefits you promised, that you entice them with? And they're not taking advantage of because you're making it hard, or those benefits actually kind of suck, or they just don't know about it." So let's make sure they know about those extra benefits. And I'm sure a lot of those companies are going to be reaching out to Dr. Oz and saying, "Please don't make us send out those letters." So anyway, there's that. Let's see. Don't you need a certified copy? Again, yeah, it has to be from the original agency. Why is it taking so long to process my benefits from the Fairness Act? Because Congress didn't provide anything. If you read H.R. 82, which is the Social Security Fairness Act, it's 2 lines. Typical Congress. It's like it repeals weapon GPO, and that's pretty much it. It didn't say, "Okay, now you've got." It's like, you own a store, and you got one employee, and you give this amazing sale, and 10,000 people are going to show up tomorrow, and you just say, "Well, I think one employee would be good." That's basically what Congress did. You've got 3 million people that want their benefits to be recalculated, and we're not going to do anything to help. So there's that. And that was a conscious decision. Yep. There is a difference between resign and retire. So which is DOGE? It really depends on, if they can provide an early out. And there are certain laws that kind of force reductions, I used to say, in the military. Yeah, if you resign and you're not eligible or you're not vested, then you just resign and you might not get retirement benefits. But if you are eligible to retire, you can essentially go ahead and retire. So that's basically the difference. Let's see. I don't guess it's worthwhile to wait until I'm 70 to grow my monthly Social Security amount. That's the question. That's the $64,000 question, right? Is when should you start your Social Security benefits? And there is a lot of decisions, questions that you have to ask yourself. And here's kind of the list. In terms of early retirement, do you need the money? Or retirement, do you need the money? Are you working? Making over the 23,400? Do you have people that are waiting for you to collect benefits so they can collect benefits, a current spouse or children or whatever the case may be? Are you healthy? How's the family genes going in terms of longevity? If you collect benefits, is it going to put you in a higher tax bracket and defeat the purpose of getting extra benefits? Can you invest it better than the 8% that Social Security gives you after your full retirement age? And here's the one I've never really added until recently, the politics part. I added this last year because it doesn't look like we're going to be solving the problem of the future cuts. Because we just decide politicians have been really, really good at distracting us and dividing us and making us go after each other rather than joining together and solve the problem. Even though 80+% of the American people want politicians to solve the Social Security issue so the cuts won't happen. Um, we're talking Democrat, Republicans, conservative, liberal, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what part of the political spectrum. 80+% of people out there want Social Security to be around here in the future and no cuts. But politicians distract us and they try to, play word games and, oh, you can only cut certain taxes and, or it's all given to your crane or it's given to illegals. And so it's all distractions and we keep falling for it. So except for people that subscribe to this channel. Y'all are up on it. Okay, I am way, way over my time. I'm over an hour here. So thanks for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow. And if I missed your specific question, I'll get to it tomorrow. Make sure you cut it and paste it, and we'll join you there. Make sure you subscribe, like, and reach out to your